Hi guys, Mr. Jaeger here, and welcome back to IAE 2952 at Microtech. Now today we have a bit of an interesting day, as we don't see any human ships today. No, today is all about the aliens. So today we've got AOPA, Gatak Industries, Esperia, and I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce that. I think it's Banu, but I'm not entirely sure. And today we get to celebrate the wonders of the Xeno vessels. Now, I will confess, my knowledge on these vessels is really poor. There's no real way of sugarcoating it. My knowledge on most of these vessels is extremely limited, and I do apologize in advance. I do have some bare bones knowledge about some of these things, but primarily it's to do with either the to do with the Banu the Banu Defender in terms of like some things, like some bits of knowledge, bits of lore, and of the initial reaction when it first came out. Of course, I have paid attention to the Tavarin and their conflicts, but the Aopa, the Karatual, the Esperia, and a few other things, not so much. So I will do my best to fill in what gaps I can, and also talk a little bit about the vessels and all of that jazz. But to be brutally honest, I'm not a huge fan of the alien ships in this game. They just don't sing much to me, and no. Today, as said, we will do what we can. Today's the day that we will at least enjoy some of the vessels, and more importantly, we get to have a look at the new ones coming in. And also, this is the smallest of today as well, which is going to make things hopefully a little bit quicker. Jeez. Well, regardless, let's have a look at these vessels. And if you like these kind of ships, let me know in the comment section down below. It'd be nice to meet some people who actually like the Xenos in this game, rather than tolerate them like I do. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, here we are, and why not start the day off with the most neutral of Xenos out there, the Banu Defender. So, the Banu, for those who don't know, are a race of aliens that are super interested in trade. Like, they are neutral to a T. Even the Dutch would probably be envious of them. They are basically interplanetary traders who form guilds, who sadly don't write history, but often want to basically aim to be profitable in any particular direction that they choose to be in. And their vessels represent their desires to merge, mingle, and utilize as, well, much as possible. And as a result, we have a vessel such as the Banu Defender. This particular vessel is, to quote from the Tools webpage, a two-seat combat ship utilized by the Banu to provide protection and fly alongside the merchantmen. Its design features both Xi'an thrusters, Tavaran shields, and 4 Sange Tachyon cannons. As a result, with a lightweight hull, it allows the ship to be agile and fast. Although the cargo space is limited, the Defender features a modest accommodations for its crew and provides easy access to the components. So basically, this vessel is designed to provide escort duty, and despite its supposed size, it's, again, quite an agile vessel. And we can see on the inside, when we decide to go in, you'll see that this vessel is rather an interesting and unique sort of foray. And the Banu are probably one of the more popular of the alien races in the verse, as they're basically, all they care about is how much money they can make off any particular profit. And as a result, they really don't care who they trade with. And there's even rumor that you even have certain groups of Banu trading with the Vandal, who of course are the UEE's mortal enemies at the time of this recording. Another unique thing about this particular ship is the guns. The Sange Tachyon cannons, or the Tachyon Sange cannon. No, it's always right, the Sange Tachyon cannons. Now, the reason why with this was, in terms of gameplay, when these ship guns first came out, they were the first. They kind of had an incredibly different mannerisms to how they worked. Because basically, in Star Citizen, with most, if not all, other weapons in the game, whenever you want to fire at someone, you fire the shot, and either you have to lead the target on in order to be able to make your weapon that fires hit the target. You also have to adjust your positioning to hit the target, depending on where you're flying, or how high you are, or how low you are, all that jazz. because all of those factors take into account that your round is a projectile. It takes time for you pulling the trigger to it reaching the target. But the tachyon cannons, when they were first released, were what were known as direct hit weapons. I think that's the term. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it's called. Basically, instead of having to wait to aim to the target and adjust your aim or anything of those stupid things, all you had to do was point the crosshairs at the target, pull the trigger, and it would be hit. The speed of those rounds was ridiculous, and obviously, players of a PvP nature realized the potential that these weapons had and immediately bought the Banu, only to take the weapons off and then put them on their own ships. Yeah, it was a bit exploited, to say the least. And as a result, CIG basically pulled the weapons off for a while, rebalanced them, and then reattached them to the Banu. So while probably these weapons are no longer as dangerous or as deadly as they used to be, they certainly have a bit of an interesting track record. So as we go into what uncomfortably looks like the maw of some horrendous monstrous crab creature, we enter into the Banu's vessel to see a rather strange interior, filled to the brim with strangeness and the words. I'm not an architect, so I don't know. I'm trying to be as balanced as possible here because, well, I'm a faithful servant of the God Emperor of mankind, and any foul xeno creatures that we encounter, my brain immediately wants to purge their asses. So having to try and talk positive things about xenotechnology is going to be a tough one for me today, but we'll give it a shot. So basically, inside the ship, there's enough room for you to put some cargo mission-y sort of things, and also a rather unique facet as well is that this ship has two cockpits which work exactly the same, which is, of course, an interesting perspective, depending on your mindset. So if you're left-handed, you could fly on the left side of the ship. If you're right-handed, you can fly on the right-hand side of the ship. And there are beds and accommodation for all, and it allows you to enjoy a wondrous, if not slightly horrifying image in bed. I personally would feel very uncomfortable flying in a vessel like this, but that's just me. So a quick little fly-off into the cockpit of the vessel. And as you can see, we've got some pretty impressive views. There's only a tiny strut that removes the completely nice view. But apart from that, it's all good. It does pass the test of the MFDs. So we can safely say that if you were flying around in this thing, you would be able to benefit from seeing all of these different MFDs, which is pretty cool. Which is very cool. That's why I want to exit my game, just to get out of the game. It's too much. Okay. But still. So the Banu the Banu Defender, while it's not exactly, well, its main purpose is literally designed as escort ship, it still looks pretty unique, and its crab-like nature gives it that rather fun design that I can't say I'm a huge fan of. I mean, again, it's a Banu, it's a crab. I'm not exactly a huge fan of the things in real life to begin with, so the fact that I do not want to have to fly one for a while, but still, it'll be interesting to see how this thing will look when the Merchantman comes out, because of course the Merchantman, now that the Corsair is out, is the next big ship that everyone's going to be pining for, and of course it is a pretty large and impressive ship, given how much cargo storage and supposed unique and its intended nature is to be in the verse at the moment. So, as we go from one race of aliens that absolutely loves seeing and trading and hugging and doing all the wonderful things with as many alien races as possible, we go to a race of aliens that do pretty much the opposite of that. I am, of course, talking about the Vanduul with their ship, the Blade, which has been reconstructed by Esperia, which is an interesting thing to do. So Esperia is basically a company of high-quality replicators who like to make these vessels for those who either want to pretend that they're aliens so that they can scare the living daylights out of regular people, or in some cases on the UEE side, act as target practice, so we can basically see what kind of tactics will work for something that these particular vessels have a tendency to go on. As you can see, our nice willing volunteer has somehow gotten into the ship. It's not the most accurate model. There you go. Hello. So as you can see, the vessel's design is very much all about getting into the thick of it. It is a carrier-based vessel from Van Duel, and it's basically a light fighter which is designed to just simply get in, try and annihilate whatever foes it can, and then get out as soon as possible. The cramped nature of the cockpit, GG, means that comfort is basically a secondary, or not even a secondary, it's probably a fifth-ary. And as a result, the poor bastard inside is going to basically be sent out with a very, very low life expectancy. But regardless of the comfort of the pilot, this thing has got a reputation for absolute devastation within the UEE. And unfortunately, this has given it a rather terrifying look. I myself have only flown it maybe once or twice. I think I flew it once during an Invictus Flight Week. Oh no, not an Invictus Flight Week. It was like a Alien Week, or maybe the first couple of IAEs. I cannot remember. It's been so long. And basically, the only unique thing I personally found out about it was that when you targeted some normal civilian traffic or even UEE vehicles, it immediately registered them as hostile, which either tells you something about Esperia's faithfulness to their craft, or maybe there's something else we're not quite aware of. But regardless, this Xeno vessel will definitely terrify any poor bastard who gets in its way without too much harm. Without too much hope for their survival. So, going from the terrifying to now the outright strange, the Eopa's Cartual. So, the Cartual, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, is a ship from the Xi'an Empire. To quote the Cartual, literally Direfly Export, is an export model of the Queer Cartu for sale to human civilians as a dedicated scout and explorer. The export model features the same Xi'an maneuvering rig, but control surfaces are modified for human use and a more limited armament, of course. So this particular vessel is a very maneuverable, unique vessel. It also kind of works like the B-Wing, because basically how it works is as you take off and you go from the landing gear, the vessel kind of does a 90-degree change, and the cockpit is basically focused into that. And I will attempt to get into the vessel just to see what it is. You have a truly unique cockpit design, as you can see here. You raise it up, and you also move these ball things around, which is kind of cool and not cool, dependent. Again, you've got incredible views, though, and obviously as you take off and fly about, you've got much better views in terms of visuals. A little bit interesting with the Cartual's struts being in the way of your 1 and 2 o'clocks, but apart from that, that is a pretty, in terms of visuals, there is almost unbeatable visuals in that respect. But yeah, I can't say I'm a huge fan, but still, it is an impressive vessel regardless, and I'm sure if you're a fan of the weird and funky style things, it definitely has a place in someone's heart. It only has a couple of Panther repeaters, but again, this is an export model of one of the Xi'an ships. The Xi'an, being very suspicious of the UEE, don't exactly want to arm their competitors or future enemies with very powerful ships. So I suppose the only thing that you can really say is, if we encounter something like this in the verse, don't assume it's just going to be a lightly armored vessel. Probably going to be far worse than we even realize. So as we make our way to the rear of the room, you may see the glaive icon, and when you go to look at this vessel and where she's come from, you may notice it's from Esperia, which means this really strange, really funky looking design is meant to be a Vandal ship. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because the Vandal ship is over there. This thing looks like a Vandal ship that was looted by a human, or an orc, depending on how your mindset goes, and yeah, fucked around with a bit. Well, the thing is, this particular ship is a really old design. Like, this was probably back when the Vandal was still in a concept phase, and we hadn't even seen a Vandal in the game yet, or even in a cutscene. And as such, the glaive, this particular version of the glaive, is just a whole host of strangeness, a bit more wildy, and maybe In some regards, you could say this particular ship was designed to look more like a hot rod than an actual combat vessel, but hey-ho. Sadly, whenever I've taken this ship out for a spin, the wings have been broken, and as a result, they've not really been deployed properly, meaning that whenever I do float around with this thing, it looks like it's constantly wanting to land. And while it has some pretty impressive size 5 weapons, which I assume are these things, which is the Wrath Plasma Cannon, which does look pretty cool, its main form of as a heavier / medium fighter is kind of neutralized a bit. And again, I've never seen this vessel outside of IAE, and I've not seen this vessel in the verse practically forever. This particular vessel just is weird, and not exactly a good thing in that regard. But now let's go to vessels that not only are actually look more like an alien, but also have the real potential to do some absolute devastation in that regard. And that is, of course, the Tavarin Talon. This one being the normal Talon, and the vessel to the right being the Talon Shrike, which kind of looks better, I'll be honest with you. But still, the Tavarin are an avian-style racist creatures whose life is basically dictated in a semi-Bushido warrior code-esque style. These particular creatures were responsible for, sadly, the Meza regime taking off, which resulted in the Meza regime taking over the UEE for God knows how long, but also they were responsible for humanity's first real foray, the first real alien conflict, which resulted in mankind gaining the technology of the Tavarin, as well as their the shield technology, as well as the regeneration technology, as well as their regeneration technology. There we go, Christ. There are a couple of major wars that feature the Tavarin, and as a result, Asperia have naturally taken some of the vessels that were utilized in that war and have decided, you know what, we can make a buck off this. And they've done their bit, especially since we now get the opportunity to have a look at these particular vessels. And I will say, this ship definitely looks cool in that regard. And this is probably one of the few ships in Star Citizen that is designed by an alien that I wouldn't mind having-ish. I think, to be fair, the vessel to my front is probably the most likely candidate for me to hold it, but this thing is still pretty cool. So the cool thing about the Tavarins, so the cool thing about the Talon is that it's both a heavy both a mixture of stealth fighter and powerful fighter as well. Despite it being considered a light fighter, it does have some pretty nice weapon mounts. For example, it's got 2 size 4 gimbaled with 2 size 3 light strike, 3 cannons, and 4 size 2 missiles. There's also a noise launcher and a decoy. Oh, there's a noise. There. Why would you consider that a unique thing, game? Honestly, it's like you also has chaff and flare, and I'm like, oh, like every other vessel in the Star Citizen. Christ. But no, the cool thing about this particular U-ship is that it's designed to be a hit-and-run fighter, but it also has the ability to smack a fucker royally, which is rather nice. And of course, we have the Tavarin Talon Shrike, which slightly changes its missile. Well, it slightly changes its weapon loadout so that its weapon size, its main weaponry, sadly, are reduced down to a size 2 gimbal with a size 1 light strike. It is instead given 24 size 3 missiles. Yes, 24 size 3s, because missile is just a word to some people, but in the Talon Shrike's case, it's their fucking blood. It's their life essence. And 24 of them smacking in your direction just means a bad day for you overall. These vessels are really cool, not only just because they're quite a dangerous vessel in the hands of a very well-trained pilot, but also they look incredible. The artwork, the wings and everything, I just love it. It looks so cool, and God Emperor, I would love to see these things in action against the Vanduul, or maybe even have a replica of the Tavaran Wars, because that would be incredible. I'm not gonna lie, that would be just the best, without a doubt. And of course, we couldn't finish the main hall without looking at this absolute beautiful vessel. This is the Tavaran Prowler, which was a feared vessel back in the days of the Tavaran Wars. This particular ship was noted for being a hit-and-run dropship, which would deploy troops or special teams of Tavaran soldiers to fuck up anything the UEE was currently trying to protect. And of course, Esperia, because Esperia does these things, decided to take the older style concepts of the Tavaran Prowler and merge them with human technology to make the ultimate rapid deployment special forces dropship with its own unique design frame that just oozes quality. I mean, for example, not only does the troops have their own special, unique, shielded deployment stands, there's also these little flap things here, which when deployed act as physical cover to provide the troops some immediate defenses when it comes to the landing zone, which you don't really get that often in various ships. You've also got a co-pilot and pilot style system which allows either of the two to fly the vessel in and out of combat at a moment's notice. Also, there is a incredibly large amount of space available for the troopers. You've got like 3 here, the commander obviously being here, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 on that. And let's not forget also, you can also climb the really cool looking ladder. And you've got yourself an additional place for another couple of dudes, if they're okay holding onto the rails. But yeah, this particular ship definitely struck fear into the hearts of any poor bastard who was caught unawares in this particular thing. So in addition to, this shielding technology, whatever, what are the weapons on this ship? Well, you'd think for a transport ship, you'd think, oh, well, it's a transport ship, so it won't have that much weapons. And you would be wrong. And dead. Because this thing has 2 size 4 on a size 5, in 2 size 5 gimbals, deadbolt 4 cannons. So think, you remove the gimbal, you get a deadbolt Mark 5. Or a size 5 cannon of your particular choice, and it has 1 size 5 rack with 2 size 3 light strike 3 cannons. Missiles, sorry. No, it is turret. It is a turret. Xperia turret, 2 size 3 light strike 3 cannons, which is on a 360 degree pedestal base. It's dope. It's lovely. And Jesus Christ, it looks cool. Like, it is probably the coolest looking alien ship in Star Citizen by leaps and bounds. I personally love it. It's the only alien ship I would 100 hand on my heart say I love. It looks so cool. And definitely in my top, 15 to 10, maybe. But yeah, no, this thing, it's incredible. It's a very intriguing ship, and I've been on it a few times in combat trainings and whatnot, and it definitely strikes a presence. Like when you see this thing flying over you, you feel like, oh shit, this is the business. This is most definitely the business. So we've almost wrapped today up. A bit of a quick one, he says, quick one, but still. So before we go over to the holodecks to discover what vessels may be looking into our future, let's have a look at something that's here in the now, which is, of course, the Nox. So the Nox is the fast... if you look at the Dragonfly, that's basically your Ford Focus, the, relatively fast, but more stable, more safe, easier to fly kind of option. The Nox is a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, or whatever kind of ship you feel, the car you feel, has the level of capacity to kill its occupant as much as go fast around a corner. Having flown a couple of these things already, I can safely say they are the much harder of the two to fly, resulting in you having a much higher chance of you plowing your face into the side of a mountain, or just plowing your nose into the dirt if you happen to go over a bump that's like a foot bigger than you realize. These are very fast vehicles and definitely deserve the respect and also the enjoyment factor. But I mean, as mentioned on the Drake Interplanetary Day, I'm not a huge fan of bikes without wheels. So yeah, the Nox. It's a very nice looking ship. Looks really funky and cool. And probably, I mean, of the two, it looks the nicer without a doubt. But again, it's the more deadly as well of the two. So as much as I would love to take a Nox to fly around with, I'd still take a Dragonfly because at least I'll know I'll last longer. But anyway, we now make our way to the holodeck, whereupon we get to see the wonders that the vessels from the future will show, and also we get to see what Gatek Industries has decided to showcase, because, as per usual, all we've got is just holodecks and dreams. And the first vessel we get to look at is this thing. Huh. It looks a lot more detailed than I thought it was going to be. I mean, it's still got the bare bones basics, but So this is the future cargo ship. Looks strange, that's for sure. So this thing is the Raylin, which is translated as smooth, peaceful cargo. It's an up-and-coming multi-crew Xi'an cargo ship manufactured by Gatak Manufacture, featuring Gravlev technology, and is apparently promoted as a safe and reliable solution for commercial-grade commercial-grade cargo hauling. It's got a living space, a unique cargo hold, which are these triangular pods, and I'm sure they look rather wonderful. Though, to be fair, again, I feel that this is more of a niche ship than a ship that will be actually practicable. It's got its own, as I said, unique living quarters and whatnot, but it's a strange thing. To be fair, the thing that I get the most about Xeno ships is I feel that they want to fill a niche more than actually serve a practicable purpose. Like, if you really want to do cargo hauling, you get a Hull series, you get the Crusader, you get the Hull series, the Crusader, the Freelancer Max, or the Caterpillar. You know, you get something that is tried and tested. Whereas the Xi'an, really all you've got is just this weird funky design with some unique turrets on the back and everything else. But I mean, still, it looks cool, and the engines are not connected. Are they not connected at all? They don't look connected. They might be connected. Yes, they're connected. But still, again, I'm trying not to shit on it too much, but it just feels like the vessel in question is not going to... I mean, it's got 320 SCUs worth of cargo. So make of that what you will. For the standalone price of 225, and its original price being from 200, so it's already increased by 25 quid. I can't say it's something that I'm overly excited for. And this is coming from a cargo hauler nut. Like someone who likes the concept of mundane jobs. And I'm not overly fussed about it. So, yeah. Yeah. That's the thing that I'm probably going to say is not the thing I'm looking forward to most. Now, we're going to go to the other side, because the way this particular place is laid out, the big fancy stuff in the middle is going to be the big surprise. And I'm gonna take a special minute to try and go for that. So instead, let's have a look at this thing from Aopa, which is known as the Santok Yai, which apparently is translated to ship that creates genuine fear. There's a human export of the Xi'an military medium fighter of the same name. It features a newer generation of Xi'an flight systems, upgraded dual vector thrusters, and weaponry manufactured by Toral Aggregate, whatever. And it's basically got some size 3 cannon, which is pretty impressive, and a couple of size 2 and 8 size 2 missiles. And yeah, you know what? It definitely judging from how the thrusters will work, it definitely looks like a vessel made by the Xi'an. It looks like a much more aggressive combat vessel, and ironically enough, I'm actually finding myself liking this version, or at least the aesthetics of this vessel, more than their Card to Al. So I do look forward to the day these things fly into the verse and I can shoot at them. Yes, this will be a worthy foe, and I look forward to seeing what a Xi'an fleet can go, if we can get a UEE fleet, or a fleet of our forebears, to go toe-to-toe with the fleet of the Xi'an. Though, to be fair, something tells me we're probably not going to have a good day when they do show up, but I'll try and take as many of these alien bastards down with me as possible. Still, a very impressive looking ship, and definitely one that you have to respect, because I imagine that something of this particular quality and assurance from the Xi'an will be an absolute bastard to shoot down, being very maneuverable and very dangerous. So, good ship, nice looking ship, much more impressive than I thought it was going to be, but still, very nice looking ship. So, we've seen the fighter, we've seen the hauler. Now, we see the merchantman. So the merchantman is from the Banu, and it is the now fated and very much hyped vessel coming to Star Citizen. It's still in production, but I am excited for two reasons for this vessel. Now, this is surprising to me because I'm not normally hyped for a vessel, but this one I'm kind of interested in. Mainly for two reasons, as I said. The first reason is it is going to be the largest cargo capacity carrying ship in the game. If the cargo SCU, which is reportedly going to be 2,880 SCU, if that is still going to be the number that we will be having when the ship is released, then holy shit, it's going to beat the C2 by a country mile and be the ultimate pinnacle of all traders inside Star Citizen. Like, if you want to be hauling and you want to make a profit, this is your ship to do it in. You're probably going to end up paying for most of it, but if you can run a good profit, this will be a winner for sure. But there's another reason why I'm also interested in this vessel, and that's quite simply a level of pride. You see, the main incentive in terms of excitement is, well, it's a big ship. It's actually quite a big ship, and arguably, it's the biggest ship in the game. The biggest flyable ship in the game. Yes, this ship will be the biggest ship. You know what? I'm gonna even bloody try and get it. 890 jump. Star Citizen tools. I am determined to have that stupid bloody ship get removed from the mantle, which I'm really hoping will be the case. See, length 210. This one is 237. Beam is 80. This one's going to be 203. Height 80. 45. Yes, the merchantman will be bigger than the 890 jump. Yes, I am very much keen on this vessel being in that, primarily for those two reasons. But as also, this will be a very large capital ship, and it'll also be a signifier for the trading style of this game, which I have to admit, as I've grown up and gotten a little older, I've become less and less enamored with the whole going to war thing. Well, at least, don't get me wrong, I'm up for a scrap when it comes to Xenos any day of the week, but when it comes to most other things, however, I like the concept of trading, being a merchant, transporting cargo, moving cargo trucks around inside a forklift, that sort of thing, because I'm weird. And basically being able to fully enjoy the wonders that is exploring the verse in a very large ship and seeing what capital ships will do in Star Citizen, which at the end of the day, that's what I like to see. The future of Star Citizen is now looking towards this vessel, and if this delivers, oh boy, it'll be a good one. So there you guys go. The merchantman now cometh, and judging from the videos we've been seeing and the quality in which the holographic and the holodeck is showcasing, may be coming soon. Who knows? We may get the Kraken beforehand. We don't know. But regardless, I hope you have enjoyed this video. As said, hopefully this video, this one probably will be shorter. I feel like it will be shorter. And of course, we have other days and other ships coming up. I mean, for example, tomorrow is Anvil Day, so probably going to be longer than today's video, that's for sure. But I hope you have enjoyed this episode regardless, and I hope to see you in the next one. Then let me know what you think about these alien ships in the comment section down below. If you're a fan of the alien ships, if you're not a fan of the alien ships, if you feel like I go on a bit too much about how much I don't like the alien ships, all of the constructive criticism is very much accepted. And I would like to, strike... Oh, hello. Yeah, unfortunately, Star Citizen is beginning to attract the larger crowds in the game, and unfortunately, they are beginning to spread. The downside of this game being popular means that you get the fuckwits who decide to piss around with this sort of thing, but unfortunately, there's not a lot you can really do about that. Well, you can ban them, of course, and I hope those idiots get banned, but yeah. That's what happens when a game gets popular. You get the weirdos who come into this game. But oh well, I'll see you guys in the next episode, whereupon we'll be going from the strange, the weird, and the alien to the human, the precision, and the bold, known as Anvil. I'll see you then, guys. This is Mr. Jaeger, signing out.